Hello YouTube, you're tuned into the TrayTableSeatBack YouTube channel, where we'll take you around the world with me, Rahiem, and bring you travel discussions and videos from not only my eyes, but we'll also highlight other brown and black travelers who look like us with the intent to inspire. So make sure you click that subscribe button, like this video, share this video, comment below places you want to see me visit, topics you want to see me discuss, and other brown and black travelers you want to see me interview. So without further ado, let's jump into the next episode. Ladies, gentlemen, non-binary and queer folk, as we start our descent, please make sure your tray tables and seat backs are in their full upright position. Today, we are in beautiful Tanzania. In Africa, and I am joined by my friend, a traveler. She's been on a few TrayTableSeatBack curated trips, and she's also a part of the TrayTableSeatBack team. She does our website, but we have SanchaTravels. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for allowing us to interview you. So there's so many things I want to talk to Sancha about, so let's jump into it. So before we start our interview, we do a little icebreaker. It's called This or That. So we'll give you two travel-related options. On the count of three, we'll decide which one we choose. Okay? Solo travel or group travel? 1, 2, 3.
Solo travel.
Okay. As much as I love doing group trips, it's great. I prefer to kind of just go at the beat of my own drum. Sometimes I travel and I realize the first day I arrive, oh, I'm more tired than I thought. Let me get some rest. Whereas though I feel like with the group, you kind of gotta go with the itinerary. People are looking forward to that. And do you have anything to piggyback off of that with that?
I think it's a little bit of both. You know, like I think as a solo traveler, there's a lot of things that allow you to just think internally and kind of get yourself together. And I do love group trips too, you know. I find that, you know, we meet great people, first of all, and then you learn so much about, like, you know, how people do things, how people function, and just what people learn about the certain thing that you may not have learned at the time. It just elevates you as a person.
So the next one is going to be, would you prefer a flight upgrade or a hotel upgrade? Flight meaning first class Emirates, hotel meaning like 5-star luxury hotel in Dubai. So 1, 2, 3. Hotel upgrade. So why do you say flight upgrade?
Flight upgrade because I love flying. Okay. I have the best sleep on flights, so if I can get the most comfortable like situation on a flight, I'm 100% for it. And hotel, and not hotel because I'm never in the room. I'm always like out and about, so flight upgrade.
See, for me, I feel like I'm spending more time in the hotel than I am on a flight. So for me, it's definitely a hotel upgrade. And I'm one of people who like, I want to wake up and feel like I'm on vacation. Like even before when I get out the bed. So for me, it's hotel. Okay, so it's a band on the island.
Okay.
Would you say Jamaica or Barbados? 1, 2, 3.
Jamaica.
I say the same thing. I said, give me oxtails and a beautiful beach.
Yes.
I am in heaven.
1,000% Jamaica.
Okay, I'm gonna take it domestic because I feel like a lot of people don't consider like domestic travel real travel, and it definitely is.
Oh yeah, totally.
If you do domestic traveler, you are a traveler. Like, so would you say Houston or Atlanta? 1, 2, 3. Houston.
Houston.
Oh, yeah, Houston.
I can say Houston because I haven't been there. However, I feel like there's so many things that I've heard about Houston that I feel like I would love. And like right now, Atlanta to me is great. However, it's not like my #1 go-to. Yeah.
Okay, now I get it. And our last one is gonna be based off of places that we've been together.
Okay.
So, do you prefer the continent of Asia or the continent of Africa? 1, 2, 3.
Africa.
Definitely Africa. Definitely Africa.
Yes.
It's such a misconception about Africa, and it's so beautiful.
It's amazing.
It's multifaceted. It's from beaches to safaris to the vibe, the culture. And it's so much more than what people see on TV. Like, I think Africa really, and I can say that I fell victim to the misconception that America kind of puts on Africa. I fell victim to that misconception, and I forgot. And when I got there, I was so in awe by what I seen.
And it's I understand that only because, again, I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions about Jamaica. And so I understand. And so I'm very, you know, sensitive to when people do that and when they come here. And it's like, a lot of people, I hear them say, oh, I'm going to Africa. I'm like, okay, that's the whole continent. What do you mean you're going to Africa? There's several countries in Africa. They have a lot to offer. Each of them are very unique in their own way. And even when we went to Zimbabwe and Botswana, they were all different. They're right next to each other.
Very different.
Exactly. So,
and I tell people the same way that New York, Philly, DC, Baltimore, they're all kind of near each other.
yes.
Vastly different cities. So I definitely agree.
Yeah.
So Sancha has traveled with TrayTableSeatBack 3 times, as we already said. What has your experience with TrayTableSeatBack been like? And be completely honest. You've been back 3 times. So for us, that's a great thing. But tell us what your experience, a TrayTableSeatBack experience has been like for you.
I want to start kind of like in the beginning, you know, like when we went to Bali. Like I said, I'm a solo traveler. So that was actually my first group trip. And I remember leaving there in tears because I felt like, for me, I had my own misconceptions about other Black travelers, right? So being around other Black travelers, then it opened my eyes to not being biased or not thinking, oh, okay, you know, not everybody gets it, da, da, da. Everyone was totally like, it was a vibe the entire time from day one, you know. And what I love about TrayTableSeatBack the most is that it's exposing other people to travel, to help them to understand it doesn't have to be that expensive. There's other people out there just like you, and that, you know, there's so much of the world to explore outside of your city, outside of your town, outside of what you know, and expand your mind, expand who you are as a person. And I think that's the biggest thing that keeps me coming back. Like, it makes me really, really excited to know that we're helping elevate other people. And I think, you know, what you've done with TrayTableSeatBack is so amazing because it was your dream and your passion. You remember wanting to have that opportunity. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna go back and make sure I give that opportunity to other people. And I think, you know, as Black and brown people, that should be our mindset. You know, if we're elevating ourselves, let me reach out a hand to help elevate somebody else. And that's the #1 thing I appreciate about TrayTableSeatBack. So I'll be back again and again.
Who are you and where are you from? By way of, and where do you live now?
My name is Sancha Flynn, and I'm from the beautiful island of Jamaica, Otres to be exact. Currently reside in Washington, D.C.
Around what age did you move from Jamaica to to the United States?
I was around 9 years old when my family moved to Washington. My parents are mostly in the Maryland area, my father in New York, but we've been in the DMV area for a while and just basically grew up in the United States, but still stayed connected to our family in Jamaica.
So traveling from Jamaica at age 7 to the United States, that was kind of like your first travel experience. But one of the things I admire about you and one of the things I love about you is you are a solo female traveler. Not always, but a lot of your travels, you go out there, you're not waiting on nobody, you're kind of doing it by yourself. So tell me about your first experience traveling as a solo female traveler.
Okay. So I remember wanting to travel for a while, and when I had the opportunity, I was actually supposed to go with someone else, and it turned out that they couldn't go and ended up canceling on me at the last minute. I remember being really hurt by it and just thinking, I was so excited to go, so excited to explore, and my whole dream just got crushed, right? So you know, I remember the feeling of it and remember just thinking that I was overcome by fear because I didn't want to take the step by myself, and just remembering how I felt and not wanting to feel that again, not wanting to be controlled by fear anymore. And so I just decided I'm not going to wait on anyone anymore. I'm not going to allow those things to hold me back, and started solo traveling and just loved it ever since.
So as a Black female solo traveler, I know for a lot of people, just kind of knowing they have an itinerary kind of creates a safe haven. So for you, when you travel solo, how much do you kind of go with the flow? And then how much do you kind of plan in advance?
I would say I plan about a month in advance, only because I want to make sure that I reserve a hotel, or Airbnb, depending on where I am, and try to figure out what I want to do and, you know, book those itineraries ahead of time. So around a month, but I really do plan trips according to what I want to do in that particular country. So I definitely want to do something cultural. That's a huge deal to me, to learn the culture, to learn about the environment, to learn about the people. So that's a huge deal. And then something fun. So definitely adding fun in there, making sure I'm enjoying the touristy side of that country, and then something that's really unique to that country. So whether it be, you know, like ramen noodles in Japan, or, you know, anything that's unique to that particular country, then I want to explore that side of it as well. So those three things I look for, and I would say around a month is a good time to plan.
So as an avid female solo travel, do you still find yourself getting nervous and scared because you don't have somebody with you?
I actually think I'm less nervous and scared because I'm not as responsible for anyone else. So if I were to travel with other people, then I would be considering them and more like what they want to do, if they'll have fun. But going by myself, I know what I like, I know what I don't like. And so I'm less concerned about you know, fear, and I don't get scared a lot. And so a lot of times I'll just pick up and go and just follow my gut most of the times that I travel.
So let me ask you this. You know, it's the question that everybody get asked. What would you say is your favorite destination you've been to thus far?
Okay, so I tell people this all the time, and everyone who knows me knows that my #1 favorite destination is Egypt. I have no idea why I fell in love with it so much initially, but I remember even just leaving the airport on my way to the hotel, and the feeling I had just being in the country was a family, and like I came home. I can't describe any in particular, like it wasn't one thing that like, okay, I saw the pyramids at the time. I hadn't even gone to any touristy spots, but just being in the country itself, I just felt like I came home.
I don't like to use the word scary, but I want to say, what, as a Black female traveler, like I said, because your experience is very different than mine as a Black male traveler when I travel solo, and I accept that and I understand that it's a whole different experience for you than it is for me. What would you say, what country has been the most uncomfortable for you as a Black female traveler?
That was a little hard to think about, only because, like I said, I'm not really scared a lot. However, I did have a situation in Brazil where we wanted to take a picture in front of the sun, and the person I asked to take the picture was, you know, in the middle of taking the picture of me, and a guy comes up to us and he's like, you know, you can't take a picture without paying us money. And this is a public space, it's a public, you know, spot to take pictures, and he just wanted us to pay him. And I remember, you know, just being like, you know, sir, it's really free, just trying to be nice, trying to be calm, but he got really hostile. And so the situation really got out of hand and made me very uncomfortable because I felt unprotected. And even though that he was just someone off the street, a lot of people that were around and were noticing it were not very helpful at all. So being there by myself, I definitely felt unsafe.
No. And I'm sorry that you had that experience. Sometimes I feel like as a Black man, it's our job to protect y'all. So I hate that we weren't there in that space to kind of be there for y'all. But that's also one of the reasons I created TrayTableSeatBack, to create a safe space for Black and brown people, also Black women, because I know that your experience is very different than mine. So we created that to know that when we go in numbers, there's strength in numbers. So when you have 15 and 20 people traveling with you, it's a very different experience. And you know, from being on trips with us, I'm very like, people come in your face, back up, you know? So that's one of the reasons we created this company. But yeah, I get it. Has traveling been a window or mirror for you?
So I definitely feel like traveling initially was a window, right? I wanted to explore the world. I remember growing up, my Aunt Pat, she was a traveler, and her life and the different things that she would talk about were really interesting, very unique, very creative. Her home was filled with art from all over the world. And so I just grew to like love that side of her, love just the different things that I learned about travel through her. So it was a window initially, but as I started traveling, it became a mirror, because there's so many things that you learn about yourself when you travel. I feel like, you know, there are definitely people out there that are just like you. That's one. You know, we may not look the same, but we all have the same like intent in life. You know, we all have the same goals. We all, you know, want to do the best that we can for ourselves. However, you know, we are in different circumstances, different situations, but the core of us is the same. And all the different situations that I've been in, I definitely feel like I've learned a lot about myself. And traveling definitely opens your eyes to certain things. It grows your tolerance for people. It grows your even knowledge of certain situations, like why people are the way they are, why situations are the way they are. Your patience becomes greater, having to deal with so many different things, being in other countries. You just learn so much about yourself and learn so much about how to be a better human in general. So it has become a mirror.
I agree. I tell people all the time that whether the experience for me when I'm traveling is good, bad, or indifferent, I always walk away not only with the story, but a lesson. And same thing you said, like traveling the world and just seeing how different people live and different ways of life. I realized that although I occupy this small space, that life is so much bigger than what's just around me and what I see every day. And, you know, just the way that people operate in different ways, I learned to appreciate that and not kind of frown upon people who live life different than us. And it also makes me realize that there's so many people I see who have so much less than I do materially, but they're so much more happier and grateful and humble. So it just makes me, even on the days where I feel like are not good days, I don't complain, because I know that life could be much worse or very different. So no, I totally agree. What advice would you give another Black female solo potential traveler out there who wants to travel, but she allowing thoughts, fear, loneliness, and her friends not going to kind of stop her from seeing the world? What advice would you give her?
I would say you never limit yourself with fear. There's so much out there. There's so many amazing people in this world. People who have the same goals as you, the same dreams as you. The thing that I find that as a solo traveler, I've met some of the most interesting people and just learned so many different things, because a lot of times when you travel solo and people recognize that, they're apt to kind of like look out for you, take care of you, especially as a female. And so I remember even this one mom was traveling on our flight in Japan, and she kept saying, "Are you okay? Like, your mom isn't here with you." And at the time I was like 30 something, but she always just felt like she needed to take care of me. And just the different conversations that I've had with people that I randomly meet. And so you develop really amazing friendships. You learn a lot of different things about different people. You're exposed to so much that helps you become a better human being overall. So if you allow yourself to be limited just by the thoughts of fear and things like that, you're limiting yourself, you're limiting your growth, you're limiting your potential. And so in order to not have that happen, then don't allow yourself to be crippled by, you know, maybe what like media is saying or anything like that, but just allow yourself to be fearless and go after being a better human being.
And even piggybacking off of the media part, we've had conversations where we talked about, I feel like one of the biggest ways that the media cripple Americans really into traveling is creating this stigma and this idea that the world is not safe and America is this greatest country in the world. And Fear is the biggest way to cripple people. And we've talked about places like Jamaica and places like Africa where the misconception of the way that the media portrays it is nothing like that when you get there. And although some of those things are true, one of the things I always say is, if you're going to tell me a story, tell me the entire story. So my thing is, when you go to Africa, yes, there's going to be, poverty. Yes, there's going to be malnourished children. But on the flip side of that, you have beautiful beaches, you have great safaris, you have educated children, and even the same in Jamaica. So we talked about, just like I said, that media thing. You can't let the media kind of control the narrative of what the world looks like. If you do that, you'll forever be a prisoner of your country, your city, your home. You have to go see things for yourself. And that may be scary. Sometimes the experience may not be good, but on the flip side of that, in my experience, the experience has been beautiful. It has been better than things I can even imagine in my wildest dreams. So we always think about what could go wrong, but think about what could go right.
Exactly.
Ask yourself what could go right sometimes. Stop thinking about what could go wrong, So I love that you talked about the media and that fear. So what advice would you give a Black traveler, a brown traveler, people who look like us, who want to get out there and travel, but they may not have the funds, or they may not think they have the funds because this misconception that to travel, you have to be rich. You got to have all this money. What advice would you give someone like that?
I would start there. I would say a lot of that is a misconception. And so, they say travel is expensive, whatever, but at the same time, we would spend $200 on a happy hour. That $200 could be a ticket to another country. And so we have to put things in perspective. And so if your goal is to really, really explore and really elevate your mental thinking, then travel is one of the best ways to do that. And so in that sense that you put that into perspective, then you start to change what's the word I'm looking for?
Even your priorities.
Yes, that's it. So you're changing your priorities. And one of the best ways I find that you can finance your travel is, one, you could get a side job, right? So if your current financial situation isn't allowing you to have extra expenditure, then a side job can help. There's so many different things online where you can work at home, things like that. Another way is, when you do get your paycheck, you pay yourself. And that's how I kind of go about it. So whenever, whoever I'm working for pays me, I pay myself and I put it in a separate account to make sure that I'm prioritizing travel, because I know how important it is to me and how much it helps me to just really escape, be away, mentally get myself together so I can come back and be a better person to my work, my family, every situation I'm around. And so when you do start changing your mental, dynamic of how you initially think of travel, if you start to let those things go, and again, Rahiem, the media has a huge role to play in crippling us, which not only cripples us, in terms of location, but it cripples us mentally and it cripples us emotionally. And so to break free of that, you have to go against the grain and follow your gut. If your desire is to really travel, listen to that voice. There's times that things just end up working out. I know that I wanted to go to a particular location. Things just ended up working out in terms of time off from work, in terms of financially getting it together, because my mental had changed. And so that, I would say, is the biggest thing, especially as brown and Black travelers. The media really tries to stifle us in so many ways.
One of the main purposes and motives of this YouTube channel is to really get more brown and Black, queer, non-binary, trans, boys, girls out there seeing the world. And one of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to the media is money. You have to be rich to travel. What advice would you give those people out there who want to travel, but financially they feel like they don't have enough money to be able to travel?
Yeah, I would say definitely a huge misconception is travel is expensive. Yes, it does cost money. You got to get a flight, you got to get somewhere to stay, you want to do things in another country. But if you think about it, if I'm not spending you know, my money at home, I'm gonna spend it elsewhere, so it's the same amount of money, right? And a lot of times less. Let's be honest. A lot of times we end up going to happy hour. And I'm not saying anything is wrong with happy hour, but we'll throw like, you know, $200-300 on a happy hour tab just for one person. That's easily a flight to somewhere else. And so, you know, skip a couple of happy hours sometimes if you want to buy a ticket to somewhere else, explore another country. Something that helps me is, you know, like side hustles. So if I'm working in addition to my 9 to 5, then I'm able to make additional money that specifically goes towards my travel fund. And I put it in a different account so that I know for sure I'm saving for that particular thing. Something also that helps is whenever I get paid, I pay myself. I think the biggest thing that you want to do when you think about traveling, it really is your self-growth. And so you want to invest in yourself. So if I'm going to invest in myself, I'm going to pay myself to be a better person, to do better things, to be, you know, just better overall for in every way. I feel like travel has elevated who I am as a person. And so, you know, you can take different avenues in doing so. I think especially for Brown and Black people, we have to consider, you know, what it is that the media is feeding us and be sure that we're not buying into the negativity, but elevating our thoughts to think outside the box and not just be conformed to what society is telling we should do. And so I think for me, I definitely think in that way. I think I've always been taught as a young person to not be conformed and not be put in a box. And so traveling is something that I think a lot of people tend to tell us we're not able to do, which is a huge lie, a huge lie. And if we really take the time to, you know, look at ways in which we can be creative in doing so, there's tons of, you know, ways you can do it. There's, you know, even with Google Flights, there's so many avenues in which we can make it happen. So just don't limit yourself. Invest in you because you're worth it.
So one of the things that traveling does is educate us. It teaches us lessons. Like I said, whether good, bad, or indifferent, you leave with a lesson. What lessons would you say traveling have taught you?
I think the biggest thing is life is beautiful and you have to look for the beauty in everything. I think the second thing is, like I mentioned before, is invest in yourself because you're worth it. I think people are generally good and we have to seek those things, and it's what we seek that we'll find. So if we're seeking good, we'll find good. If we're seeking like amazing things to happen, you'll find those things. And I think the biggest thing that I realized is that, you know, we're always learning, and travel for me has been my biggest lesson in life. And so traveling far enough to meet yourself is one of the biggest things that I endorse, I believe in. I, you know, help others to understand that, you know, there's no better way for you to become a better human being than to discovering who you are, and travel is one of the best ways to do that.
So one of the things we also like to do here while we wrap up this interview, this amazing interview we've had with you, is we like to highlight other brown and black travelers. So I know with social media being such a huge thing, Facebook, Instagram, what are some social media accounts you follow that really inspire you, or you think they're great pages to kind of get people out there to follow more black and brown travelers? So tell me some travel pages that really inspire you.
Besides SanchaTravels.
And they'll be right at the bottom, so you'll be able to follow her.
TrayTableSeatBack. There's this family that I follow. Their page is called The Traveling Child. She's excellent at giving information on all the locations she goes to, not just for kids, but in general. Like very good, detailed information. Even on like what to get, like, you know, different gadgets you'll need, where to shop. Another page is Evita Robinson. She is the owner and founder of Nomadist Tribe. She's like a really good, you know, person to follow in general, life, you know, hacks, things like that. Another good page is Where in the World is B? He does luxury travel. Like he makes Places look amazing. I've never considered Canada before, ever. I mean, I go, but not like, oh, I want to go to Canada. But during the pandemic, he toured Canada. That's where he's from, and just made different locations look amazing. And so, you know, really good influencer. And I would say the other person is Pax Light. She's really good at giving information on grants and how you can get grants, you know, to travel. So if you financially can't do it yourself, she has information on how you can get a grant to be a traveler.
And all those Instagrams we'll put down in our bio. So make sure you click that to follow these travelers and check out the people that inspire Sancha. But it was great having you. Sancha joined us on the Tanzania TrayTableSeatBack experience. It's been great. This is Sancha's third trip with us: Bali, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, ZZB, and then now Tanzania. And she'll probably be on a lot more TrayTableSeatBack trips. But it was such a pleasure having you. Thank you for joining us.
Definitely.
And I'm just really looking forward to just working with you, having you a part of the team. After this, Sancha is going to Kenya, so that's going to be great. But follow her, you'll definitely love her. Her energy is amazing. Like, what you see is what you get. Like, she came on a trip, I did not know her. She just trusted TrayTableSeatBack and came along, and her energy was just, you would think we've known each other forever. So follow her. The link is in the bio to all her stuff. I'll put down her Facebook, her Instagram, her email address. We'll also add the other travelers that she talked about. But in the meantime, just make sure your TrayTableSeatBacks are in their full upright position. Travel freely, travel fearlessly, but most importantly, travel safely. So until the next episode, see y'all later.